Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, May 4th, 2003 version of the Big CeeJ Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for joining, whether you are watching live or whether you are on repeat. Greatly do appreciate your support. I'll go ahead and run a quick little 30-second countdown here, and we'll allow everybody to join in live, and we'll get started. Alrighty, good evening again to everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, May 4th, 2003 version of the Big CeeJ Sports Podcast. I am your host, CeeJ Pronk. Thank you so much again for joining live or whether you are watching this on repeat. Please, if you are watching live or on repeat, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and like the stream. Also, you can comment if you'd like as well. Your comments, questions are always appreciated and encouraged. That is one of the reasons that I like to do the show, is to get everybody's opinion and be able to share all of that. And I do appreciate the viewers that I do see have tuned in live tonight. Again, this is a Thursday evening, May 4th, 2023. We had breaking news not all that long ago of the Milwaukee Bucks, who were the team with the best record in the NBA all season long. They were bounced in the first round against Miami. And they have fired their coach, Mike Budenholzer. The Bucks won a championship not that long ago, right? That front office doesn't seem to really care. Now, there are a few things that Giannis did say as far as adjustments, and he was right, about Jimmy Butler and him not guarding Jimmy Butler because those were not the adjustments that were made. Did that have anything to do with it? Who knows? But it is something interesting to kind of look back on when you see Giannis's comments after the series is over, and those are one of the things that they continue to ask him is, why weren't you guarding Jimmy Butler? And Giannis continued to say over and over again, I wanted to guard Jimmy Butler. I went to coach and asked if I could guard Jimmy Butler, but he said no. And obviously we now see Milwaukee sitting at home, and Mike Budenholzer is now unemployed. So the Bucks will find a new coach as free agency is right around the corner for Giannis. He's not a free agent this offseason. But if we look at his deal, he does have a player option in 25-26. So that's not that far away. So this next hire, they better get it right, or Giannis may be out of Milwaukee. You never know. You just never know. But I did also want to talk about, as you did see most likely from the picture on the preview for my video today, and that is Joel Embiid being named the 2023 NBA Kia MVP. Embiid had a fantastic year. 33 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Played in 66 games, which for him is actually pretty good. Now, that's a pretty big number for Joel Embiid, who's battled injuries most of his career, missed a lot of games throughout his career. He did shoot 55% from the field. Sorry, Joel, not trying to slight you there. He shot 55% from the field. 33% from three. Did shoot 86% from the free throw line, which for a big guy is outstanding. But Joel Embiid is this year's MVP, very much deserved. If you do follow the show at all, and if you have for a while, when we were exclusively audio on Call-In, I did let you guys know kind of right when the regular season was ending that if I would have had a vote, which, I mean, obviously I do not, but if I would have had a vote for MVP, it would have been, I would have voted for Jokic again. He averaged a triple-double. Denver was the number one seed in the Western Conference and looks well on their way to the Western Conference Finals. To me, it was Jokic, but that is not to say that Embiid did not deserve it, because he absolutely did. 33 and 10 is incredible. He led the league in scoring. Obviously, the game is about getting buckets, and that's what Joel Embiid did better than anybody this season. So good for him. He's probably right now the most unguardable guy in the league because how talented he is offensively, and when he wants to be, he's a force on defense as well. I think the thing with Joel Embiid is he reminds me a lot of Shaq, and I mean in a lot of ways, obviously because of his size and ability, but I think another thing is I do kind of get the impression sometimes that he does take some plays off and some nights off, and Shaq did that as well. You know, Kobe basically said one time when they were interviewing him about Shaq that if Shaq would have had Kobe's work ethic, Shaq would have been the best player ever, and it wouldn't even have been close. And he's right. And I think Joel Embiid kind of has that same type of issue sometimes where, for some reason, he just doesn't seem to go 100% all the time. But congratulations to Joel Embiid, as he is this year's NBA MVP. We do have some NBA action as well tonight. We do have the Lakers and Warriors Game 2. That starts at 9 Eastern here in about an hour. Game 1 was excellent. It was fantastic. It was close all game long. The Lakers were able to sneak out a win. They do go up 1-0 in that series as they grab one on the road. It's going to be a fun series. It's a very different series than the last time Steph Curry and LeBron James faced off. They're at, like we kind of briefly touched on this on Tuesday, and that's that they're both in very different spots in their career now than they were then. Steph's obviously on the team that is the defending champions. He just got his fourth and I would say most impressive ring last year. I would say out of all the championships the Golden State won, last year was definitely the most impressive. And you could tell that Steph Curry especially, I mean, and obviously everybody else on that team, but I mean, Curry was the MVP of that series and is obviously the focal point of the team. To him, you could tell that it meant something different. It was like when LeBron finally won one in Cleveland. You could just tell that that was a very different feeling of accomplishment to get one done under the circumstances, where last year nobody thought the Golden State was a team that was going to win a championship. If you looked at all the major, sports writers and sports, websites and things like that last year, nobody picked Golden State to win. Yet they went out and they did it. And they showed why they have that championship pedigree. And they went out and did it again. But I could very easily see this series between the Lakers and the Warriors going 7. I don't see any reason why not. I do think the Warriors will tie up the series tonight. And I will say this, if they do go down 2-0 at home, that looks much different than going down 2-0 against Sacramento when you're playing the first two games on the road. That is very different, because if you go down 2-0, losing both games at home, and the Lakers then get a chance to go 3-0 up in their own building, or even 3-1 up in their own building, I mean, that's a big deal. So for the Warriors, this is absolutely, in my opinion, a must-win game tonight. Because, again, whoever wins this game is most likely... I mean, if the Lakers win this game, that is, I think they're going to take the series. If the Warriors win this game, it'll be right back at it. Obviously, the Lakers stealing one at home, stealing one on the road is very important, but you'd have to think that the Warriors would probably be able to easily do the same thing in Game 3 or Game 4. And that's grab one in LA. Again, just want to thank everybody that is watching live or on repeat. If you have not done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe. Like the video. That helps the algorithm. Also, always feel free to comment. Do greatly appreciate your comments and questions all the time. It is something that I love to talk about, the things that you guys do. I obviously prepare material, from my end, but anytime that you guys have a question or a comment, that will always take precedent over what I have prepared. Because the conversation obviously is supposed to be geared for my viewers, and if my viewers want to talk about something else, that's what I'm here to do. But again, I do think this Warriors-Lakers series is going to be fantastic. I'm very excited for it to continue tonight. See if I can stay up tonight. It's been a long week, so it would not surprise me especially if it's a little one-sided, if I do end up sleeping before the game is over. But we'll see. We'll have to see, and I do think it'll probably be another competitive game, just like Game 1 was. But again, if I had to choose, I feel pretty confident saying Golden State's going to be able to tie up the series tonight. I think that Steph's going to have another big game. He was good in Game 1. He really was. I mean, really, the Warriors didn't play poorly. The shot at the end of the game by Jordan Poole was not a smart decision, in my opinion. He could have easily taken one dribble in and shot a normal three instead of from almost half court, it seemed like. And it was like almost a 30-footer. It was a bad shot at the end of that game. They were right in it the whole game. Have a comment here from Austin. He says the Warriors' future is toast. They paid Jordan Poole way too much money, and he sucks. I wouldn't say that he sucks. He definitely is inconsistent, though. He's extremely inconsistent. He's very talented, but he is very inconsistent, and that's not something that you want to see from a guy that you gave $100+ million to. You're probably going to lose Draymond Green after this year just because you don't have the money to pay him, and there's no way he's going to take a pay cut that's anywhere near what the Warriors can afford in order to retain him. I'm going to pull up their roster right now and kind of see how they're looking. Because I do know that their future is not nearly as bright as it was. So if you look here at their roster, you have Steph right now is on a 4-year, $215 million deal, which is the max, obviously. Steph's contract expires in 2026. Clay's expires in 2024. You have Poole and Wiggins, who are 23 and 28 years old, respectively, locked up until 2027. Outside of that, yeah. Things are a little bit sketchy when you look at this. Steph surprisingly does not have a player option in that deal. I thought for sure that he would, but he's under contract, all the way through the 25-26 season, making 48 this year. Then it bumps up to 52, and then 55.7, and then almost $60 million in the last year of his deal. Klay Thompson next year will make $43 million. Man. And then, Draymond Green is in. He has a player option, but you would think that he'll most likely opt out of that. Now, I will say this. If he's smart, he opts in and he stays. Because I don't know if there's a team that on the open market is going to pay him more than his player option next year, which is about $27.6 million. I don't know if there's a team out there that's willing to pay that much money for him. But yeah, Jordan Poole making just under $4 million this year will start next year to make 28.7, then 30.9, then 33.1, and then 35.3 million. So for a guy that's going to be making that much money, he better start to be more consistent than he has been. I completely agree with you there, Austin, that Jordan Poole, as much money as he's making, 100% should be more effective than he has been. And he has obviously had moments of absolute brilliance where you look at him and you go, yeah, this guy's ready to, when Stephen Clay's time is up to take the keys to this franchise. And then you see moments like the last shot that he took at the end of the game last night, and you think, holy crap, why did the Warriors give this guy this much money? So, I do agree that the Warriors' future is definitely a little bit in jeopardy right now. They trade away Wiseman after, a year of the lottery and then getting a high pick. They pick him, and then they end up basically immediately trading him away. And then you look at your team right now, and your future right now is built around still Steph. I mean, Steph is still under contract, like I said, through the 25-26 season. But your players that are under contract for the longest are Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins. So definitely two guys that need to step it up. And again, I do think tonight you're going to probably see the Warriors tie up the series. And if that is the case, it's most likely because Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole both, or at least one of them, have good games. Just my theory. Thank you so much for the comment there, Austin. Do appreciate it. Anybody watching live, feel free to comment. Oh, here we go. Do you see any of those young guys, Austin says again here, any of those young guys panning out? I really like Kuminga a lot. I don't think Moody is a bad player. I think if he played for another team, maybe a team that was younger, he would be getting minutes. I think out of the two, though, Kuminga is definitely the most likely to pan out. Now, what does pan out mean? Are we talking about a guy that's going to be a starter in the league? Probably not. Are we talking about a guy that can be a very effective role player on, a playoff team? Yeah, I think so. I think that that's absolutely something that Kuminga could be. I don't think that Moody can't be, but I do see Kuminga probably more likely panning out. I think that he's shown, and he's had seasons already where he has played major minutes. So I really like Kuminga, but you never know. You'll have to see. I mean, if we do see Draymond walk, if he does turn down his player option, and if he does walk out of Golden State and sign somewhere else, that's going to open up a spot for Kuminga to be able to play more. And I do see him, being able to take advantage of that and see what he can do. I think the Golden State's probably ready to see that as well. Not that they don't like Draymond. He's just such a good, Draymond is such a good basketball player. He does so many things well. He doesn't really have, I guess you could probably say defense is his, specialty. But, I mean, he just does so many things well. And so that's what's obviously kept him in the league and on, in a role on a championship caliber team for so long. He's not a guy that's going to go out and get you 20 points. Very, very rarely is he going to do that. But he's a guy that's going to defend. He's a guy that's going to have a motor that's going 100 million miles an hour for every single second of the game. And a guy that's going to give you a little attitude and nastiness when you need it. Every team needs that one guy that's a little bit nasty. And obviously Draymond Green has been more than happy to play that role in his career. A little hydration break here. Bear with me. Appreciate you guys letting me get some water there. But no, I do see, out of those two, Austin, I think Kuminga is the guy that I would look out for. The guy that I think most likely out of the two develops into a solid role player in this league. I don't see him a starting caliber player, but I do see him as absolutely a player that can carve out a role for himself and stay in the league. If you are just joining us, again, thank you so much for tuning live into the stream. If you are watching on repeat, thank you so much as well. Please make sure either way to like the stream, not the scream, and please subscribe to the channel. I greatly do appreciate the support. It is always appreciated when I see you guys watching live or on repeat, when I see comments, and when I see that subscription number going up. So I do greatly appreciate it. If you do know somebody who may like the show, definitely also share that with them, whether it's friends, family, co-workers, anybody that you think may like the show or may want to input. Also, if you have anybody that you know that is a college or a professional athlete, somebody that may want to come on the show, I would be more than happy to have guests. I'm actively looking for them. I do have a few that are lined up for the future. Most likely when OTAs are over, I will have at least one active NFL player that will be on the show, so look forward to that. I also do have somebody who is very soon making their UFC debut that most likely will be coming on the show at some point as well. And I do have some things lined up here. So if you can think of anybody, whether they're a college or professional athlete or coach or scout or commentator or anybody else that has a sports podcast or show that may want to collaborate or have an interview, definitely reach out. All of my socials are there across the bottom. You can reach me on Twitter, Instagram, or you can also obviously comment here on my videos, and I'll be more than happy to find a way to reach out to you, and we can get it done that way. But I'm always looking for any way to expand the show, any way to branch it out to more people that want to listen or view. I'm more than open to do so. Growth is what I'm looking for here, and I do greatly appreciate everybody who is currently and will participate in this growth in the future. Looking around the sports world tonight, I'm sure we do have some baseball going on here. We can go ahead and check our scores for tonight around Major League Baseball. Right now, let's see here. Top of the 7th inning, the Red Sox and Blue Jays in an AL East matchup. Does look like the Red Sox are leading that one 8-4. The Cubs-Nationals did play today. Nationals able to get the win there 4-3. Tigers and Mets already done as well. Tigers get the win 2-0. And that was Justin Verlander's debut for the Mets today. Does come away with the loss. Rays-Pirates. The Rays continue to go on an absolute tear to start the season. I mean, they're just red hot. They're able to get the win there 3-2 over the Pirates, who've also been actually very good this season. Angels do pick up a win 11-7. Orioles over the Royals 13-10. The Royals are dreadful. Twins in the 12th inning able to beat the White Sox. Speaking of dreadful. The Rockies over the Brewers. Mariners over Oakland, and the Braves also get the win over the Marlins. Austin says, how about those Mets? Historic start of the year. I would say it's a typical season if you're a Mets fan. Honestly, what has to be so disappointing is all the money that they spent this offseason. You go get two legendary pitchers. They're obviously older, but still extremely effective, and they have not been good this year. Obviously, Verlander makes his first start today because he did have the issue to start the season with an injury. But if you're the Mets and you're looking at all the money you spent, you've obviously got to be disappointed with the season so far. I mean, you're looking right now, and to start the season, You're 16-16. That's obviously, not the start that you're looking for. Very different circumstances, but I'm sure the Dodgers probably feel the same way. They didn't spend all the money that the Mets did, but they're still a team that was looking to be better this season. They are in first place in the NL West. That's not really saying a whole lot, though. The Diamondbacks, Padres, Giants, and Rockies are all really struggling. But I got to say, being a Mets fan has got to be really, really difficult. It's probably a lot like being a Knicks fan, which good thing for the Mets fans is a lot of them are probably Knicks fans as well. So at least they're somewhat used to it at this point. Even though the Knicks have, and are showing right now that they might be a little bit legit. Now, they might not be ready for a finals run yet. But I got to tell you what, there's something about the Knicks. Jalen Brunson really, really made me eat my words because I tweeted out the second that he signed that deal with the Knicks, for $100+ million. I said, is Jalen Brunson good? Absolutely. Is he $100 million good? No. And he has been all that and then some for the Knicks, especially in the playoffs. We saw it last year, how good he was with Dallas, with Luka out to start that series against the Jazz. He 100% took advantage of how terrible the Jazz backcourt was defensively and just abused Conley and Donovan Mitchell all series long. It didn't matter who they tried to put on him. He was just absolutely killing it. And he's been doing that again this year. And teams are game planning for him, and he's still going out and doing it. So, and I wasn't the only one that did think that. There obviously were a lot of people out there that kind of thought the same way. That did he have a good playoff run last year? Yeah. Is he worth $100 million, though? I don't know. But he definitely has been very, very good. I know he kind of got off topic from the Mets there, but I mentioned the Knicks, and that came to mind. I was kind of thinking about that the other day. That, man, if I ever get more followers on Twitter and there's an account called Freezing Cold Takes. If Jalen Brunson ever ends up, making a really deep playoff run with the Knicks, if anybody ever finds that tweet, they're going to be able to very easily throw that out there and say, this moron was wrong. And I was. Jalen Brunson's been fantastic. But you never know. If Jimmy Butler comes back, that's a whole different series there. And it is 1-1. Miami was able to grab the first game in New York, so that's another series that could be very, very good. But yeah, if you're just joining the show, again, appreciate it. We have so far today talked about the MVP of the NBA, Joel Embiid. Most definitely did deserve this. He led the league in scoring, averaged 33 points, 10 rebounds this season. One thing that stuck out to me as well that I did mention is that he shoots 86% from the line. For a big guy, you just don't see that. Outside of guys like Dirk Nowitzki, who was an excellent shooter his whole career from pretty much anywhere on the floor. You just don't see big guys shooting that well from the free throw line. But good for Joel. He very easily could have won it last year. Jokic could have very well easily won it again this year. To me, it was really between those guys, and again, I would have given my vote to Jokic. He averaged a triple-double, shot 60% from the field. The guy was ridiculous again. He's just such a different player. I don't think I've ever seen anybody like Jokic. It's really hard to find somebody to compare him to. Over the history of the NBA, a big guy that can handle and pass as well as he can. I'm trying to think back in NBA history of a team that has basically told their center, wants you to go ahead and initiate the offense. We've never seen that before outside of Jokic. Appreciate the question, Austin. Austin says, thoughts on the Budenholzer firing? I did briefly mention that a bit ago as well. That was kind of the other thing that we talked about at the very beginning of the show. It's very interesting because the Bucks just a couple years ago were NBA champions, and Budenholzer was right at the head of that and got an extension during the offseason after they won that championship. I can't remember. I think it was either 3 or 4 years, the extension that he got. So he's obviously was still going to be, under contract next year. But it's very interesting. One thing I did also allude to were the comments that Giannis had during that series, which basically he mentioned. They kept asking him about, Jimmy Butler, who obviously had an incredible series, and they kept asking him like, hey, is are you going to guard Jimmy Butler, or why didn't you guard Jimmy Butler? And he basically just kept saying, out of respect for coach, I'm going to let him make those adjustments. I obviously went to him and asked if I could, and that just wasn't the plan yet. So it's very interesting to kind of look back on those comments of your best player, the best player in the world, in my opinion, coming out and saying that he wanted to essentially play a bigger role during the playoffs and be able to have a chance to guard Jimmy Butler, who was scorching all series long, but that the coach basically told him no, that's not the game plan, and then to see him get fired after the series is over and after they lose the series. So that part of it is very interesting. I'm really anxious to see who they decide to hire, though, because you kind of look out. You kind of look out there in the coaching world. Ime Udoka already is going to go coach the Rockets next year. That would have probably been one of the first guys you call. Quinn Snyder is already coaching Atlanta. Nate McMillan, probably don't want Nate McMillan. I just can't see that happening. So what direction do you go here? Do you call maybe like a Frank Vogel? I don't know. Vogel's not coaching again anywhere, right? He got fired by the Lakers, and then did he go coach anywhere? Let's look. I don't think he is, though. Yeah, he's not coaching. Not coaching anywhere right now. So that might be a guy that you call. But it is very interesting to see Budenholzer get let go after very, very recently winning a championship and after the comments that Giannis made. So that is something to look out for. Appreciate the questions and comments. If you are just joining us, whether you are watching on YouTube or on Twitch, definitely do appreciate the support and the viewership. Always feel free to like and subscribe to the show, whether you're watching on YouTube or whether you're on Twitch. Also, feel free to comment. You can always support the show either way. So I do greatly, greatly appreciate it. Another comment from Austin. He says they aren't really in a position where they can really go hire a young coach either. They're in win now mode. Exactly. Right. That's the really interesting thing about Milwaukee is, you can't really go get a guy that can go develop. Do they try and call Boston when the season's over about Joe Mazzulla? Do they try to get him to come there? I don't see why he would unless that Celtics team is going to completely blow things up. It depends on obviously how far they get. If they fall short again of either getting to or winning the finals, does Jaylen Brown really decide that he wants to be traded? Does he request a trade, or do they try and break that team up? Do they try and move on from Horford, who's older? There's a lot of things that could happen. I don't see Mazzulla leaving Boston, though. He did just get hired on as the permanent coach after the issue with Udoka, but you never know. I can't really think of anybody other than Frank Vogel. That's really the first name that comes to my mind. I think he kind of got a bad rap the way the things ended in LA for him. I don't think it was anywhere near his fault about how poor that team was under his leadership. So it's a very interesting situation. Him losing his job like that after so recently winning a championship is very surprising. But again, I mentioned Giannis's comments that he wanted to have a bigger role in defending Jimmy Butler during that series, and that Coach Budenholzer essentially told him that wasn't the game plan. And that very, very easily could have played a role in this. Damian Lillard tweeted something out that I thought was pretty interesting as well. He said, "Folks out here firing championship coaches as soon as they don't win the chip." I mean, he's not wrong, but I don't know. Obviously, Budenholzer could have done a better job. Getting bounced in the first round is never a good look, especially having the best player in the world on your team. But it is very interesting that they did so quickly after the season. I mean, they didn't really hesitate at all. They did not waste any time. And they went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. I mean, I'm guessing probably it's better to do it earlier than later so that you can start on your next coaching search. Um, Another name that comes to mind is Alex Jensen, assistant for the Jazz. He's a guy that was a longtime assistant under Quinn Snyder. He was an assistant under Will Hardy this year. Do they call him? He's not somebody that's going to be retained this year by Will Hardy. He is moving on, and he'll have a assistant coaching spot to fill for next year. But is that somebody that calls? He has gotten interviews for head coaching jobs before. He interviewed for the Jazz head coaching job. He's interviewed for others in the past. So that's somebody they could look to if he doesn't decide he wants to go to Atlanta and be an assistant with Quinn Snyder. You could always see the possibility of him at least getting an interview for the Milwaukee job. The Joe Ingles connection obviously would make sense. Although, you know what? I think Joe only signed a one-year deal. If I'm not wrong, I think he may have signed just a one-year contract with Milwaukee. Yeah, it was just a 1 year, about $6.5 million deal. So Joe Ingles is actually a free agent next year. So who knows if he wants to go back to Milwaukee, if he thinks Milwaukee is his best chance to win a championship. That was another real bummer for me. I really liked Joe Ingles a lot, and to see him go to Milwaukee, I was like, oh, this is going to be probably his best chance so far to get a ring, and see them fall short was definitely disappointing in that aspect as well. Thanks so much for the questions and comments. Always, again, feel free to throw anything else into the chat there. Whether you are watching on Twitch or on YouTube, again, your support is greatly appreciated. Always feel free to post a question or a comment. Definitely like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitch as well if you have not done so already. And across the bottom there, you'll see my other socials as well, my Twitter and my Instagram. Only thing not on there is my TikTok, which is just at CeeJ Pronk, like my name. I do post highlights and also sometimes clips from the show there as well. And if you feel so inclined, you can always donate to the show right now just through Venmo or Cash App, and they are down on the ticker there across the bottom of the screen. If you are watching this live or on repeat, just to kind of go over what we've talked about so far. We've touched on Joel Embiid's MVP finally. A lot of people that did see him potentially winning it last year most definitely would have had an argument, that's for sure. We touched on that. We have talked about Mike Budenholzer being fired. We talked a little bit about the Lakers-Warriors series and the fact that the Warriors' future is a little bit questionable. That Jordan Poole is a guy that they gave a whole lot of money to, and he's extremely inconsistent. We talked a little bit about Draymond Green also most likely leaving that team next season, and who can potentially fill the hole of Draymond Green. We talked about Kuminga possibly being a guy already on the roster that could step right in and give you some effective minutes, most likely not as a starter, but a guy that could definitely contribute as well off the bench. And that's kind of what we have talked about so far. So there is going to be a little bit of a tweak. This is interesting. I did just receive this actually in a DM on Twitter. So tonight's game 2 for the Warriors and Lakers, the Warriors are actually going to have a little bit of a different starting lineup in this game. So obviously your backcourt's going to be the same with Steph and Clay, but your front court's going to be a little different. Andrew Wiggins is still obviously it. Draymond Green, and they're going to start JaMychal Green tonight. So that'll be interesting to kind of see how that works out. I do like JaMychal Green. Benching Looney is very interesting to me. He's been a rebounding machine. I mean, he had 23 rebounds in game 1. I don't really see Looney as being a problem. I guess the only thing that maybe Steve Kerr is thinking here is they can get a little bit more spacing on the court, because really what was happening in game 1 is that whenever the Lakers would drive, or excuse me, whenever the Warriors would drive to the basket, they were leaving guys on Steph and Clay on the perimeter, and it was essentially just LeBron and Anthony Davis were just packing the paint. And they were making guys shoot outside shots that just aren't as comfortable doing so. They were really limiting Steph and Clay on the perimeter and just stuffing the paint with a guy that's obviously incredible defensively in Anthony Davis, and a guy that has good size in LeBron James. Not a great defender anymore, I wouldn't say, but still a very effective one when he wants to be. So that's really the only thing I can think of, is maybe to try to space the floor a little bit more so the Lakers can't just kind of pack the paint and make guys shoot outside shots that aren't nearly as comfortable doing so. But we'll see how that plays. It's going to be very interesting. Again, I did say earlier that I do think the Warriors, regardless, probably tie up the series tonight. I see that going 1-1 to LA. But you just never know. You never know whether this is going to, backfire or not. I don't think it will. I think Steve Kerr's a guy that's proven, in his coaching career that he definitely knows what he's doing. A guy with multiple championships over his playing and coaching career. Guy with plenty of experience when it comes to this stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays into tonight's game. It'll be very interesting for sure, though. Appreciate the DM there, Austin. That information was very, very helpful. Want to thank again everybody joining live or on repeat. This has been a great show so far. We've had a lot of interaction. Again, I know I sound like a broken record, but you can watch along the timeline there, or the ticker down on the bottom has all my socials. Also a reminder to like and subscribe to the video and to the channel. Follow on Twitch if you're watching there as well. And you can always donate to the show through Venmo or Cash App at CeeJ Pronk or $CeeJ Pronk. Any other questions or comments you guys wanted to share, feel free to do so in the chat. We are approaching about 45 minutes that we have been live tonight. This has been a great show. About 15 minutes till that Lakers-Warriors game 2 will begin. So I will definitely be hopping off before then. But if you guys have any questions or comments that we have not already addressed, or something that you guys wanted to talk about, maybe more that we did address earlier, just feel free to do so in the comments or in the chat wherever you are watching. But again, I definitely want to appreciate all the viewership, all the participation tonight. It's been a very good show. And definitely make sure to share this with friends, coworkers, family members, anybody that you think may be interested in the show. And tell them also to subscribe to the channel. As we continue to grow this thing to hopefully more and more viewers and more subscribers all the time. And definitely, that will help us improve the show with, technology-wise, overlays, things of that nature. And again, as well, if you guys have any guests that you think would be interested in coming on the show, whether it's somebody who wants to come on and talk sports with me, or whether it's anybody who's a current high school, college, professional athlete that would want to come on the show, and be or coach or scout or anything, anybody involved in sports that way that would want to come on and have an interview done, definitely would be more than happy to accommodate. Just definitely let them know and let me know, and we can set up a time. If you did not hear earlier, or if you are tuning in recently or watching this on repeat, I did mention that once OTAs are over in the NFL, I do have at least one current NFL player that I have been able to reach out to come onto the show, and they're definitely interested, and they will be coming on. I have somebody who will very soon be making their debut fighting in the UFC that will be coming on the show at some point as well. So look out for that. And I have a few other guests, and at least one other NFL player that I have reached out to about coming onto the show that will hopefully do so as well. I've reached out to a few major college athletes as well, some that are at very big schools, potentially even Heisman hopefuls and guys that will be playing on Sundays someday as well, that I've reached out to for some interviews and to see if they would be interested in coming on the show. So definitely have quite a few plans in store to try and get more viewers and bring more viewers to the show, more subscribers, and see what we can do. I've got a lot of plans as well when football season rolls around that I'm working on right now. That's still definitely a work in progress. I'm looking for a place to move to right now, so that's kind of occupying a lot of my time and energy when it comes to things that way. But once I'm settled, once we're all settled in our new place, I'll be able to plan more on what's coming in the fall, which is hopefully something that could be very, very fun and help the channel grow even more. I think it's something that you guys would really, really enjoy. So definitely a lot of things in the works here. But if we don't have any other comments or questions, any other things you guys wanted to throw into the chat or comment there, we'll go ahead and sign off for the evening. But I do greatly appreciate every single one of you. Without you, this channel would not be possible, and there would be no reason for me to continue to do this. Please, if you have not done so already, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Twitch, wherever you may be. Appreciate every single one of you. God bless, and have a wonderful evening.